But if you imagine every day or every hour slamming your fingers in a car door, that's it could be what it feels like for some cats.
This is Defender Radio. I'm Michael Howie, and this is Defender Radio, the podcast for wildlife advocates and animal lovers, brought to you by the Fur Bears. Cat declawing sounds like a reasonable way to prevent damage to furniture and homes and keep cats who may be given to shelters with their families. But the facts and science simply don't support any of it, and declawing isn't even what a lot of people think it is. In this special report, I connected with Dr. Margie Scherk, a veterinarian who specializes in feline medicine and surgery and wants the College of Veterinarians of British Columbia to outlaw the practice. According to a CBC article, nearly 80% of BC vets who responded to a survey support a ban on declawing, and 62% already stopped conducting the procedure themselves. Dr. Scherk is hoping that greater public awareness on the truth about cat declawing and support for a petition she has created will push the college into moving forward with a ban, something that happened in Nova Scotia just last December. Links to the petition and more are available on the show notes for this episode and at thefurbears.com. This special report is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. Become a supporter at patreon.com/defenderradio to help the show grow and increase our audience and gain access to exclusive content. The obvious place to start is with what cat declawing is. I think this is something that's talked about a lot more now, probably with, the advent of social media, but I still see people not really understanding it. So could you explain what the process actually is?
Absolutely. So declawing a cat, well, when you think what's happening is removing the nails. But in fact, because unlike the way nails are in people, where the nails are essentially an offshoot, as it were, of skin, and they come out of the skin, a bed in skin. The nails in cat are actually attached directly to the bone of the last part of their, I'll use the term finger just to make it analogous. And so when you declaw a cat, you actually amputate. You have to amputate each finger at the first or the last, depending on how you want to look at it, the last from the hand way down knuckle. So that means that declawing a cat is equivalent to amputating all 10 fingers, and if you have their back feet declawed as well, then that's another 8 toes, because cats have 4 on each hind. So it's actually 10 amputations. So if you think about, the bone is cut, or the joint between the last knuckle and the middle knuckle is that's where the bone is removed, and that means that tendons are cut, and of course nerves are cut. And because of severing those things, there is going to be, it doesn't matter how good the pain relief has been, both to do this correctly, you need to give pain relief before the surgery, you need to do nerve blocks during the surgery, and continue analgesic or pain medication during the surgery, as well as for many days after the surgery, because if that gives you the best chance of not having chronic pain. But even then, it isn't guaranteed that your cat won't be in chronic pain. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people comment, either directly to me or that other people have heard, that, well, their cat is perfectly fine, he doesn't experience any pain, she doesn't experience any pain, acts normally, etc. The difficulty is that we don't ask our cats to catch a frisbee, go for walks with us, go for runs with us, these sorts of things. Cats, when they are in discomfort, they just become very quiet. And as cats tend to, or they become aggressive. And so I'll talk about personality and behavioral changes in a moment, but if you query people closely, they may say that, well, yes, they don't quite jump as high as they used to, and subtle things like that. But if you imagine every day or every hour slamming your fingers in a car door, that's it could be what it feels like for some cats. Additionally, people with amputations, phantom pain is very, very common. That feeling that you still have the part of the limb or part of your body that's been removed, and we have no way of knowing. But given that the neurological pathways in cats are the same as they are in people, there's no reason to think that some cats might not experience that as well.
It sounds like one of the problems is that we simply can't ask the cats. And that sounds flippant, and it's really not meant to be. No. Because I feel that, and I'm a dog person, listeners of the show know that, although I have nothing against cats. And one of the things, like with a dog, if they have an amputation, it's a process for them to come back from it. It's not just an immediate, okay, I expect you to be okay. Why do we expect that cats would just sort of be okay? What is the I don't know, is there some kind of dissonance there?
Yeah, certainly. I think that what people expect is that because they don't view it as a serious procedure, it's really interesting because for the very same people, if you were to discuss removing a limb because of a cancerous growth, they might be very hesitant. They certainly would recognize that this is a huge deal. But so is amputating fingers, and people just don't see it as a big deal. They just see it as, oh well, but I guess it's because they think it's just nails rather than that it's actually amputations.
I wanted to ask, are you aware, is there a history to cat declawing? Like, did it start at a certain time for a certain purpose?
It was first published in 1952 by an American veterinarian. It was published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association, just as an article about declawing cats, removing the nails of cats. And prior to that, it was not done. It was unheard of. We need to focus more on making it easy for people, helping people learn how easy it is to trim cats' nails. Oh, she hasn't met my cat. Well, yeah, maybe not yours exactly, but I bet I've met one exactly like yours or harder, because it's about, they're frightened, for heaven's sakes. Cats need their nails to mark their territory. And they need their nails to defend themselves. And if they don't, so they will continue, even if they're declawed, to quote-unquote scratch, like they rub the cat tree with their paws, because they need, they're depositing scent from their pads. It's a pheromone from their pads. Huh. But they also need to, it's part of their marking strategy, but they also use their claws to leave visual marks, too. So it's very, very important. And it helps them stretch their muscles throughout their body. It's a really great stretching exercise. It looks like it anyways. Plus, they seem to enjoy it, and it also removes the dead sheaths from their nails. But there are so many things we need to teach people about why nails are so important to cats. That they are integral to who a cat is, and if you want to have a cat, then you take all of the cat. You need to provide for their catness. You otherwise get a doll that's shaped like a cat. Okay. We want to teach people about how to trim nails. That by rewarding a cat for each, by being very calm yourself when you're doing it, and giving a cat a treat for every single nail until eventually they're really as you trim it. Eventually, as you and somebody's stroking the cat at the same time, making it and if you only get through 3 and then the kitty decides to head tail it fine. The next time you do 4, and the next time you do 2, and the next time you do 5. And gradually it becomes a positive experience, and then you can start decreasing the number of treats so you don't end up with a blob. And so that it's, 1 per paw or something like this. And then how to purchase an appropriate scratching surface. It needs to be something that's stable, something that doesn't sway or slide, because when a cat is stretching and scratching, they don't want to be losing their balance. That it needs to be a really nice surface. Putting catnip on the scratching post, it can be helpful. There's also a product that's now available in Europe but is coming to Canada this year called Feli Scratch, F-E-L-I Scratch. That is again a pheromone. It's like the one on their pads that you apply to the scratching surface to encourage them to scratch on that surface. Where you put the scratching post is really important too. It needs to be somewhere that the cat likes spending time. It's not something you put in the spare room unless the cat likes being in there. You don't put it in the laundry room or the ilk. You put it in a social space. If a cat is scratching the sofa, put a scratching post beside the sofa, and because clearly that's an important part of territory that needs to be marked. So if you can say to them, hey, I got it, you need to scratch here for some reason, could you please scratch 2 inches to the right? And then in the meanwhile, you make the surface of the sofa, the upright part of the sofa, less pleasant. You could do that in a number of ways. You can put 2-sided tape on it just for the interim until they've shifted over to using the scratching tree that you want them to use. You can also put a piece of slippery fabric over the arm of the sofa with an empty pop can or something that's got some pebbles in it, so that when they go to scratch the fabric, the pop can falls over and it makes a clattery noise and they run away. It needs to be something that isn't just, hey, get away from there. Negative reinforcement doesn't work unless it happens whether or not you're around, and it's never preferable to positive reinforcement. So if you get the cat to just operant conditioning, the cat uses the scratching post because it's a pleasant thing to do and it smells right and all that sort of stuff. Plus, if there's a way to go, I really appreciate it. Or if they start scratching along on the arm of the chair, you move them, you just, say, pick them up lovingly and, not a no, you don't. You pick them up lovingly and move them to where you want them to scratch. Now, we also need to spend time talking with people about nail caps. There's these things called soft paws that you can glue on their nails as well. But you still have to be able to trim their nails because it doesn't stop the nails from growing. But so that's part of it, but not all of it. So those are things we need to be doing.
I saw people having this debate because it was the article that you're featured in from the CBC on early or mid-January. I'll get the date. It's the 17th. And it got shared around a lot of circles, and I saw some people saying, if cats can't be declawed, they'll end up in shelters more. And what you're saying is shelters have told yourself and other advocates is that that's actually not a significant issue.
That's actually not true, and I'll tell you here exactly for what Amelia Gordon, who is she's a veterinarian at the BC SPCA in Vancouver at the hospital there, and she's the senior manager. And let me just find her quote. Here's what we can say, and this is quoting from Dr. Emily. We can say is there's no scientific evidence that declawing helps keep cats out of shelters. There is no evidence for that. Okay. So I think that's a really important myth to dispel as well.
To sign Dr. Scherk's petition asking the College of Veterinarians of British Columbia to ban cat declawing, visit the links in this week's show notes or at thefurbears.com. This special report was brought to you by the Defender Radio Patreon. You can help the show grow, reduce costs to the Fur Bears, and educate thousands more on issues of wildlife, domestic animals, the environment, and more by becoming a patron, all while gaining access to exclusive content. Just visit patreon.com/defenderradio to learn more. That's it for this special report, folks. Thanks for listening. Check out Defender Radio on Facebook and Twitter at Defender Radio, and on Instagram at Howie Michael to find out what I'm working on and see cute pictures of my dogs. Until next time, this is Michael Howie for Defender Radio and the Fur Bears, reminding you to stay informed and stay strong.